Good gaming Saturday, everybody, and welcome to your weekly gaming wreckage with Damage Check. My name is Fjord, and to my side of the screen, I keep on forgetting which side it actually is, but to the side of the screen is my good friend HP. HP, how you doing today?
Stage left, if you will. I'm doing fantastic, Fjord. We have a little bit of news this week, but a little bit more fun episode. Before we get into
a little
all
bit
that,
more of a balance.
We got the whole, what are we playing? So.
Yeah, so tell me what you've been playing. Anything crazy this week?
Nothing. Just League of Legends, pretty much. I think, did I tell you last week I played a little bit of Asgard's? Or was it this week? I can't remember.
You told us last week that you did a little bit of Asgard.
Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty much a little bit of Power World, a little bit of League of Legends. Nothing too crazy for me this week. And I didn't even stream. Yeah, I didn't do it. So what have you been playing? I heard something special, and I would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I finally beat Sea of Stars. You know, after many weeks of being like, I'm going to beat it, I'm going to do the thing. I finally actually got around to beating it. Basically, for the past 2 weeks, weekish, I've been doing at least an hour a night to try to get through everything. And I will say, I also did do the true ending.
That's awesome.
So I got the full experience. And I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic time. I think that Sea of Stars is a really special game because up front, it promises very little, but by the end of it, it's fulfilled so many promises and given you so much to where like the entire last, you beat the boss and then you kind of get the final scene, and then throughout the credits, you're getting kind of the after credit scenes, like here's where these people went, here's what those people went, here's where these people went, like what's the aftermath and all that. And they follow up on so much cool stuff, like so many little things throughout the adventure that I couldn't help but like just be smiling the whole time. And I was just like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'm so glad to see that person again, I'm so glad to see that person again. And I will definitely say to everybody who's playing it, it is worth doing the true ending. It does take quite a bit of work. Like you got to basically do everything. Not everything, but most everything you got to do. So it does take some time, but I definitely think it was 1000% worth it. I would on my scale, I'd say we do the 1 out of 5, with 1 being terrible and 5 being amazing. I think that I have a lot of critiques of the game. Like if I'm looking at it through a critical lens, it's definitely got some issues. I think the beginning, it takes way too long to like get going. I think that there are some moments where the pacing kind of slows down a bit more than what I would want. But so critically, I would probably say it's a 4 out of 5, but I was thinking about today and I can't help but think that I had an amazing time with it. I thought the ending really landed. I'm going to be listening to this soundtrack. Like this soundtrack has gone into my video game music rotation easily with like multiple songs. And I'm honestly really hoping that they do a sequel to this game, because they do leave it open in the sense of like, the current adventure is for sure done, but like, it ends and they're very much like, oh, there's like, so, the Sea of Stars is vast sort of deal. And there's even like a couple of like after credit scenes that are like, kind of like, hey, there's still some stuff out there. Like there's still some things going on. If they didn't do a sequel, I'd also be fine with that. I think that, especially when you get the true ending, I think it ends amazingly. Big heartwarming ending in a lot of ways. But I definitely would be interested in them doing a sequel, or even doing, doing a, kind of, this is kind of a spoiler thing, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but even kind of upgrading what the game is and moving into like a different space with this game, I think would be really cool. But yeah.
Give us the Sea of Stars action RPG.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the thing is like, they kind of play with a few things throughout the game where I'm like, like, you guys probably already have some ideas for what Sea of Stars 2, if there was going to be one, would be. And I know they're coming out with the DLC, though that they've already said that DLC is very much like a side story. Like it's not, an after the fact or anything like that. But yeah, I'm very interested, and to me, this game, I haven't even played their other game yet, but to me, this cements Sabotage Studios as a studio to look out for. I definitely am very curious to see what Sabotage Studios does next, because I think these guys are kind of world class when it comes to like that indie into like double A space, that tier 3 kind of company. I feel tier 2 to tier 3, because I'm not sure 100% how many employees they have. They're like kind of perfect in that market, and so I'm very interested to see what they do next.
Do you think that they, after beating the game, because I feel this way already, but I would like to hear your thoughts after beating the game, do you think that it still, because it is a JRPG, the turn-based style, do you think that it lands traditional with a mixture of modern or their own take very well as the overall?
I do think that I would love to see, if you had a little sliding scale that was like how much of it is more classic retro traditional RPG and how much is modern RPG. I would definitely like to see, if in a future installment, see that scale slide slightly more to the modern side. But I do think that by the end of it, like once you get like all the people you're going to get, once you've kind of got the whole toolkit, I do feel like combat takes on like a really fun kind of dance of like who's weak to what. How can I get these, this person needs to recharge MP, but these people have plenty of MP, so I'm going to kind of swap them out and start getting a little combos going. I do feel like towards the end, you really do start to get into a good groove with that. And that's what I think the modern take is, because, having just played a bunch of, retro RPGs with the Final Fantasy games, the final boss, the way you fight the final boss is going to be almost the exact same way that you fought enemy 576, 5 hours into the game.
Right.
Whereas this game is definitely not like that. I do feel like some of the later, not even later, like I feel like by the time you get to mid game, but especially once you get like the full squad of people, I mean, you're like really kind of thinking about what combos you can do, and what like how to essentially, like I feel like towards the end I started to get really into trying to get that ultimate gauge filled up a lot. You have the combos where you get the little diamonds, those trying to figure out, okay, how can I best fill those up so that I can then fill up the ultimate gauge and get that going so I can use their ultimates, and then kind of repeat cycle. And that's kind of what the game eventually became to me, is it was less about doing what I needed to do to the enemy and more what do I need to do to get my characters to be able to do the maximum amount of stuff that they are capable of doing. And I think that was an interesting kind of twist that happens, and is definitely not indicative of retro RPGs, because retro RPGs are just, like I said, press the button, big stick, go smacky smack until you deal enough damage. Whereas, towards the end of this game, it was definitely not that way. That's why, I am really interested to see what they do next, because if they can kind of start the game with that a little bit more, I think that would be really, really good. Instead of, because like I said, that's my biggest critique, is I still think the first like couple hours of the game, honestly, probably like 6 to 8 hours, basically like on the way to the Dweller of Woe. I mean, it's very like kind of paint by numbers. You're like, yep, this is a turn-based RPG. It's fun.
They should have got to that beat a little bit quicker.
100%. I think that they needed to get to that beat a little bit quicker.
It changes gameplay and story. Like it all kind of happens at once when you feel that turning point hit.
Yeah, you hit that turning point, and then very soon after that, I feel like, I've mentioned it before. Once again, this isn't a spoiler because you have no idea who this is. But once you meet Rashawn, is when I'm like, okay, like, not only have we leveled up in the story now, but now we've leveled up in the combat, because now I've got, a bigger toolkit to work with to, make combat more interesting. And there's like harder things to fight that don't just kind of fall over with a couple of abilities.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds fantastic, and I can't wait to finish it. I have quite a ways to go, and I'll definitely go for the true ending. If I beat it and then I realize I just don't want to play anymore, because typically that's what happens, or if I get to that point, I might just YouTube that. Do you think it's okay to YouTube the other ending, or do you think it's worth getting?
I think it's worth getting, because not only do you it's not just like a cutscene. Like, it is like changes the ending experience, not just like the ending cutscene, but like the ending experience changes.
I'll trust you on that. I'll probably do all that on stream then, so I don't void
I will.
myself
I'll
of
give
that.
you a tip right now. The biggest thing you can do right now to help avoid headache later is just try to get as many of those rainbow conchas as you can. I would even say, like, if you want to open up a guide on the side, just to because you can go into guides. Okay, I'm in this region. Where are the rainbow conchas? Cool, I'm gonna grab them and then move on. I honestly think that's probably one of the best things you
You're
can
gonna
do.
have to backtrack anyway, I presume, right? Because you get like overworld abilities as you go.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely have to backtrack a little bit, but the more you can get now,
Because without backtracking, I feel like I would say I'm pretty good at secret finding. I pride myself in that. And they did put one behind a waterfall, and I was so happy because good games put stuff behind a waterfall.
Yep. The classic stuff behind the waterfall. Yep. Yeah, I would just make sure you're getting as many of them as you can, because that was the biggest time sink. Is quite literally I would get on for like an hour and then go search for conchas, and then get on for an hour and go search for conchas, and then get on for an hour and just go search for conchas. So if you can get those ahead of time, then really it's to get the true ending. It's fight 3 to 4 end game bosses, and that's it. Everything else is just kind of the conchas, really. So yeah, that would be my biggest advice. But yeah, highly recommend it. Like I said, on how much I enjoyed it, 5 out of 5. If I'm being critical, 4 out of 5.
Fair. I mean, it seems like a beautiful game, and I can't get. I mean, just to be honest, I can't get the battle theme out of my head. It's so good,
dude. It's so good. Especially the like boss battle theme. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
That little like bass lick. Oh man, I cannot wait till you get further into this game, man. I do feel like it is like a slow burn, but that burn, once it starts going, it's just so good, and it just keeps on hitting you with the good stuff.
That's awesome.
Such a good game. Such a good game. Other than that, played some Yakuza on stream. Yakuza 0 continues to be amazing, and I'm like, this game has absolutely zero right being written as well as it is written.
I've been watching your streams. I haven't been paying attention to the story, but the gameplay is so wild. Every time I look, it's like it's throwing me for such a loop. I don't even understand what is happening.
Yeah, and the gameplay and the story are at such weird odds. It's this weird. I don't know. Yakuza is like a beast of its own, but I'm starting to get it. I get why people are like, this is like the greatest thing ever, because I mean, if this is the first game and I'm already this invested into the characters, and we got, I think, 8 games left to go, I mean, we're in for a ride.
That's awesome.
But with that, that's all we've been playing. So, HP, I hear you have a little quiz for me.
I do.
As well as we're going to mix in some hot takes and stuff. I'll let you kind of guide how we're going to do this. This is your.
Well, we'll do hot takes afterwards, because we don't want to get too upsetty spaghetti before we get into this. But the quiz is, so it's a similar sound quiz to what we've been doing. This one is only sound effects, only in-game sound effects, and as far as I know, I'm pretty sure all these are in-game sound effects. Either way, they're very iconic, so you should run through these. There might be a couple that might throw you for a loop, because these are in, if there's a zeitgeist of gaming, these are all in it. 100 million %. There's some that you are 100% familiar with. I know this. And then there's some that you might not be so familiar with, but they are there and everyone should pretty much know them. So with that, go ahead and turn on the sound for that. And
stream audio, yeah.
Here we go. First one.
Huh.
And I can actually give you a small, not even a hint. I'll do it again, and I'll play it 3 or 4 times, because this is how you would normally hear it.
Okay. It just reminds me of like NBA Jam for some reason.
Oh, kind of close. Not really, but
that are like Smash Bros for some reason. This is actually one I'm drawing a blank on. I don't know. Tell me what it is.
Okay. Do you want to come back to it, or do you want me to give you another hint? Or
sure. We'll come back to it. Let me stew on it. We'll come back to it.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is this.
Oh, that's Baby Mario in Yoshi's Island, where
Yes,
he's like
sir.
crying because he got knocked off. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You're like, get back over here, baby.
One of the most annoying sounds in video game history.
Yeah, it definitely makes you want to get that baby immediately.
Okay, here we go. Next one.
Pokemon Center, healing your Pokemon.
There we go. That's what I thought might throw you for a loop, because I know you're not too into the Pokemon space, but I know you're old enough to have played these older ones, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, up to Gen 3, I'm pretty in there, but otherwise, I don't know anything.
Gotcha. Okay, next one.
Sonic rings getting knocked out of you.
There we go. See, some of these are pretty easy. Some of them might throw you. So here's the next one.
Donkey Kong, like taking damage, or it may not be Donkey Kong, but it's Donkey Kong 64. Like you're taking damage or getting hit or something like that.
No, but I can see why you think that.
Huh. Oh, is it not? Huh.
It is taking damage though, but it is not Donkey Kong. It's a more modern game. By modern, I mean within the past 10 years. Well, yeah, about 12 years, 14 years, something like that.
Play it one more time.
It does sound like Donkey Kong though.
Yeah, if it's not Donkey Kong, I'm like Smash Bros.
No,
something in Smash Bros.
No, more modern than Smash Bros. It's very popular. It's probably the most popular game in the world, next to Fortnite.
I was about to say, so Fortnite, most popular game in the world, next to, I mean, League of Legends, Valorant.
Think kids.
Oh, it's the Roblox oof sound,
Close.
or like
it's the other one. It's Minecraft.
Oh, the Minecraft. Okay, there you go.
It's the taking damage of Minecraft. Okay, that's fine. I mean, you got taking damage immediately, but all right, let's go on to the next one.
Getting a home run hit in Smash Bros with the bat.
See, that's why it's funny that you said Smash Bros. I was like, oh, here we go. It's the next one, Smash Bros. All right, yeah, that is in a sound when you're like hitting someone, period, with the max hits on with the items, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is I think it's from Melee specifically, but it might be also in the original. All right, here's the next one.
Metroid?
Mm-mm.
But what is it a sound of?
You don't have, you can just tell me the game if you want, but that is wrong.
That's wrong.
It's funny because I would expect you to get this one just because it's so much newer, but it's
play it again. Huh. What is that?
It's funny because I don't play this either, and I actually don't like this game at all. And I don't think you ever really play this either.
Yeah, I don't know. What is it?
This is when you, I'm pretty sure it's either when it moves or when the circle moves or whatever, but it's something in Fortnite. It's like when you first drop.
Oh yeah, there's no way I would know that.
I'm pretty sure it's when the circle moves. I think that's what that sound is.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know. I know that you. I was like, maybe he knows just because it's so popular, but I knew it. I mean, but it's not like I play it, so it's just in the
zeitgeist. Yeah. I guess I'm just not in the zeitgeist enough anymore, guys. I'm washed.
He fell off.
I fell off.
All right, here is the. Which one did we just do? Did we just do? Okay, yeah, we just did that one. Sorry. The next one is this one.
Cuphead losing.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that plenty of times, as you know.
That is
I've heard that.
Fun fact. That is where Ford and I met. He was streaming Cuphead, and I found him.
Yep. Man, I still need to finish that. Do all the 100%. I think I'm only missing the DLC bosses now.
I need to go back as well. All right, here's your next sound. You got two more, or three more technically, because we skipped one.
Yeah. Oh, Chocobo. There you go.
I was like, I know you know this one.
Yeah, I know it, but for some reason I was like Yoshi, but I was like, no, stupid. It's a bird sound.
Okay, and here's the technical final one, but we'll go back to the other one.
Portal gun.
Yes, sir. Okay, we'll go back to that first one.
Okay.
I'm like 100% sure you've played this. I don't know how much, but I know you've we've never ever talked about it, but I feel like everyone has played this.
Is it like Dance Dance Revolution or something?
It is. So you're on the right track in terms of sports / a combo of something. It's a combo of something, yes. It is completing like a special move or a combo. Typically people would play this on PlayStation 1, but it was also seen as a blue cartridge on N64.
Blue cartridge. So, I mean, is it like Madden?
No. But most people do play this on PlayStation. I probably think most people out of all played this on PlayStation. And then there's a divide between the first three and then the next few. There's like a separation.
Crash Bandicoot?
No, this is
that didn't go on.
This is a sports game. I'll give you that hint. And it's an extreme sports game.
Oh, is it SSX?
Nope, with wheels.
With wheels?
It's SSX with wheels.
Burnout?
No, it's SSX but with wheels. Add wheels to the snowboard.
What's it? ATV versus MT.
No, it's Tony Hawk. Tony
Hawk. Damn it, dude. I was just throwing shit out at that point. I had no idea.
I was trying to just tell you to add wheels to the snowboard.
MMY.
And that is the sound quiz.
Oh, man.
Up next, though.
Turns out I don't know sports games very well, even when they're Tony Hawk.
I was like, I know he's played this, so I can put this in there, but
I mean, I have. You're not wrong. I have played it. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we'll go on to the hottest of hot takes. I do have one, but I'm curious to hear you have a couple as well. We have a bunch, but I've really only recently kind of been thinking about one. So if you want to go ahead and give one of your hot takes.
Yeah, see, this was interesting for me because he said, hey, like, I want to hear a couple of your hot takes on the podcast. And initially I was like, oh, I got tons of them. But then like I started thinking about them and I'm like saying, Breath of the Wild, like I don't like Breath of the Wild is that really a hot take at this point? Like there's a pretty good conglomerate of people who don't like Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. The new Zelda.
There's a divide, yeah.
There's a divide, so it's not really that hot of a take.
And I truly want something that you believe. So it's like if you don't like it, that's an opinion, and that's fine. So that's not. I would agree with that's not a hot take because there is a divide between like dungeon crawler people, linear people versus open world. So I understand that. I do think that those games are amazing, but again, opinion. But like saying that the art direction is bad is. It would be a hot take because it's an opinion that you're labeling as fact almost, but it's also like. No one, that's like not even true. I want something that you really believe.
All right.
That you really believe.
I'll start with the Scorcher and then maybe we'll get to some of the ones that I think are like lukewarm. But this is one that I get a lot of heat for from friends where I like to say that I think microtransactions are actually very good for video games.
You know what's so funny about that? I fully agree with you.
You do? Really?
I do. I fully agree with you. Almost so much so that I think every game should have them to a certain degree. Now, with that being said, there should be limitations. And by that I mean, for example, Gears of War, I think it was Gears of War 3. I am, as everybody knows, HP is a competitive gamer. At least I used to be in my youth. And I love Halo, Call of Duty, Gears of War. And when Gears of War, Halo and Call of Duty never had that stuff. And then Gears of War added it, and it was like $10 for a gun skin, and it wasn't even that cool. But then there was no way to also earn that or other gun skins. Now they've recently changed that with like Gears 5 and stuff like that. But back then they had only a way to buy the skins, but not a way to earn the skins. I think that there should always be a separation. Like, I think if you have let's just be generic here and say golden. If there's a golden gun that I can buy with real money, there should be a diamond gun or something equivalent of coolness that I can earn that differentiates it. So you can see who paid for a cool skin and who bought a cool skin. I don't think they should ever be the same. Like, you should never be able to buy and earn, or buy or earn the gold skin, for example. But I think that there should be prestige awards and then paid awards, and League of Legends kind of does a good balance of that, and they're keeping their game afloat but I think that a lot of the stuff that you earn is like they're kind of like just prestige awards that say like titles or whatever. I don't think that that's really the move either. I think that they should add, like, I don't know, let's say skins, but like, you know, maybe like if Graves, I mean, even like if you have a Graves skin and his shotgun, maybe that shotgun can be golden, so it's not a skin. That'd probably be a lot more work on their end because this gun is not detached from the character model. But, you know, something like that to where we can earn these prestiges. The rank is enough for me ultimately, but I think League of Legends has a perfect model. Make it free and support your game by microtransactions. I think I love that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat where I do believe that we need to have like prestige awards and everything. Not everything should be put behind a microtransaction. Not everything cool should be put behind a microtransaction. There should be plenty of stuff that you can get. But I do think that microtransactions have opened up gaming to being able to adapt to the way that you want to play, and also thematically build the way that you want to play. That would not be possible without microtransactions.
Yeah, I mean,
because there would be, you know, making all those assets, it's not going to be free, and they're not going to make enough off of just the base game.
Exactly.
So therefore, microtransactions introduce a good avenue for that stuff. But I do agree that, yeah, you need to have something in the game that can show mastery. Especially in a lot of these multiplayer games, I think that's very important, is to have something that shows like, hey, I didn't just buy cool skin. I have blankety blank thing that shows that I, you know, earned this, that, or the other. You know, like you bring up League. Dota has something similar where Dota is more modular in their skins, where you can have like, oh, this person's weapon can get changed to like this certain thing. And so I think that would be cool if League ended up introducing something like that. I don't think they ever would, because that would require them to basically peel apart their models, which I just don't think they're going to do. But maybe, who knows?
I do understand the fact, because it's a very healthy way to keep the economic state of a game moving forward. Especially if it is a live service game like League of Legends and Destiny and stuff like that. So that's why I wouldn't think that this is a hot take, but I do understand that people's wallets and people's money being gated behind it. I think most people would agree that microtransactions are fine as long as you're not gated. But I think that is a hot take, because people don't want to spend money, or should feel like they shouldn't have to spend extra money. But the reality is they need money to survive, and we like. That's something that you live in this digital space a lot of time, you know? Yeah. So you want to accessorize just like you do your backgrounds or your walls in real life and stuff. So I don't have a problem with that. I do see where it kind of is a hot take depending on how you take it. But I think if you explain it enough, it boils down to like a lukewarm take.
Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know. At the same time, I do understand a lot of people's like one of my frustrations with microtransactions right now is that the industry has become so reliant on them as the revenue maker, where, you know, kind of leading into another one of my hot takes is I think that we need to start charging a lot more for games. If we got to charge $100 for a game, we talked about this a little bit on the podcast before. I think with GTA we talked about it, where it's like if GTA 6 is $100, I think that's fine. And I think that's reasonable to ask with the increasing cost of video games. Now, granted, the game industry also needs to do some work into trying to get some of those costs under control, because that definitely should not all be getting passed on to the consumer. But Yeah, if you're getting a game that's had, tons and tons of work go into it, you're going to get tons and tons of time out of it. I think asking for a higher price tag up front is fine. But also on the opposite end, explore the scale a little bit. Actually, even to this point, there was a game last year that came out that didn't do very well. It's called Immortals of Avium. It's a brand new IP from EA or from an independent studio published by EA. And the director recently came out. I actually read an interview by him because it's a game that I was very interested in. And he even came out and said it was a mistake to come out at $70 because he said that they should have explored the scale more. They should have probably gone as like a $50 game. And they probably would have ended up doing a lot better because not every game needs to be $70, especially when you're introducing a new thing that's not proven. Don't feel forced to go for that $70. Charge 50, charge 40, charge 60, whatever it might be. But also on the opposite end, if you've got a massive game that has had huge budgets go into it, and you think it's worth $100, charge $100, make it happen.
I fully agree with that. I think that, but I just think that because of the industry and just because of these corporate freaks out here, it becomes a slippery slope. But I mean, I agree with that. As much as that is a hot take. That is super hot. That's the hottest of hot takes.
Really interesting. I thought that'd be more of a lukewarm.
No, I mean, because you're messing with people's money. So people growing up, they're like, okay, video games are $60. Okay, now there's 70. I can deal with that, but I'm a little angry about it. You say $100, someone's gonna be pissed off. Period. I think GTA, something like GTA, would be worth the $100 because they put so much into it and it has so much longevity. I probably would have paid $100 for Celeste. I mean, how much I love that game and how good it is. But is something like Mario versus Donkey Kong, as much as I love the Mario series and think how cute they are, is Mario versus Donkey Kong, just because they see GTA go to 100 and they're a AAA company, do you think that they deserve to go to 100? No, you know what I mean? So
no.
But that's what's going to happen with these corporations, and so that's the problem with that. But that's the only reason I think it's a hot take, is because then once it becomes a scale, which I love, that's a good idea to be like, what is our value? What's our revenue? What do we need to make back? Etc. Then go on that sliding scale. Love that. But then once they see, well, what's the max of the scale? Oh, it's 100. All right, 120 with a bundle. Okay, here's 120 with the DLC. And so like they're gonna always charge the maximum, and then it's gonna become a very, very slippery slope.
But I do wonder if they start charging the maximum. I do wonder if we have that with a couple of games, and then they realize they're just not selling the way that they would want to sell if they were lower. And that does make them kind of back off of the $100 thing or $100 scale. Because I definitely think, honestly, I'm almost surprised that more studies haven't been done on this by game industry giants, which is like, what's in a consumer's eyes. Obviously it's very subjective, but you can do these kind of different tests to get a general idea of like what constitutes a $50 value to a general gaming consumer, what constitutes a $60 value, $70, $80, $90, so on and so forth. I'm surprised that they haven't looked into that more and started figuring that out, because like I said, that game director, he said that since they dropped the price recently to I believe $40 or $50, one of the two. And he says it's like night and day. Like they're selling way more. They're reaching their revenue goals. They're doing all this stuff, all because they just dropped the price from what it initially was and locked it in at that price. It's not going back up to $70. And so I do feel like we need to maybe do a little bit of research, or we as an industry need to do a little bit more research into like what is the actual difference in value that consumers perceive per price point.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like a lot of those corporations are just so out of touch with money too.
And yeah, that's fair. They're all like 10 to 15 years behind half the time. Because
$10, for example, I mean, like $60 to 70, that might not sound like a big jump for most of those people because their pockets are lined with money. But to your average working layman, like the $10 matters a lot, because that could mean that they might not be able to. I mean, that's a whole week's worth of food, like depending on your class state there. So Like that's
I'm gonna throw out another hot take on top of that. The average layman doesn't need to buy every single game that comes out. Stop buying games, people. Buy the game that you want to play.
Oh, absolutely,
play it,
obviously.
and then move on to the next game once it's on sale or something. This is one thing that I've been having to preach to myself, where it's like I used to be like pretty much every new game that even I had a cursory interest in, I would buy, and that's why my Steam library is like 600 and something games. I think almost 700 at this point. Is because I just kept on buying games and I didn't play half of them, or I played them for like an hour and then I never got back around to them. And so that's another thing is I'm calling you out, gamers. Be better with your money. All right, be better with your financial decisions when buying games.
You heard it here.
Hot take.
Fjord is the ooh shiny of the video game, and he's like, "Oh, game shiny. I'll take."
Hey! I will let you know. I am fighting a battle with demons right now to not buy Persona 3 Reload. It is taking every ounce of willpower I have right now to not close this call out and go buy the $100 edition of that game and go play it.
I've never been one. Because as a kid, we weren't very fortunate. So I grew up in a state where I had one game a year or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I played Smash Bros for like 8 years straight, and so I had one new game a year, and then once that new game was donezo, I'd either rent a game or I would just play Smash Bros continuously until 2010. So from 2001 to 2010, I played Smash Bros Melee.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I definitely did not. In my teenage years, I was definitely able to get more video games, but that's because me and my buddies got together with all of our collective games. We're like, we'll go trade these in to go get one game that will pass around to the three of us, and we'll trade that in and go get another game to pass around between the three of us, and then so on and so forth.
That's wholesome.
That's how I played a bunch of games in my teenage years. That, and also I allegedly, possibly, maybe modded Xboxes and PS2s for people and got paid that way. So allegedly.
Hey, it's theirs. They own it. It's fair.
It's true. Yeah, that's all on them.
Forward in the modding space.
Dude, let me tell you, one of these days when we don't have a lot of news and we just want to bullshit, I'll tell you about all the crazy ways I made money as a teenager. Let me tell you, man, I was a hustler. I was out there. That's awesome. There was a way to make money. I was getting it. I was going. I needed to buy video games, goddammit.
I love that grind.
I was on that video game grind. I was like, ooh, Knights of the Old Republic 2 just came out. Psh, let's get it. How we gonna make this money to go get it?
So the only hot take that I have immediately at my disposal, I have a bunch of hot takes, I'm sure, but the only one that I just think that, and I do truly believe this because and this is a franchise that I love, but now I love to hate, is Assassin's Creed. I think that they are so damn overrated. It is insane how many sales they get, and that they keep making the same game every year and they continue to sell it. Now, if it was just a one-off, like if we just got Black Flag, or we just got Mirage, or we just got 1, 2, or 3, or we got Brotherhood, or whatever they all, like there's a billion of them. If we just got 1 or 2 of those, I'd be like, wow, they did a good job and they stopped. But they just keep making these damn games and they're not good. Not that they're not good. They're good for about 8 hours and then you're done. And then once you played 8 hours of Black Flag, you've also played 8 hours of Mirage. We can stop playing that game. It's all the same. They're all the same. Nothing changes. Sneaking around gets so boring so fast. And then the combat, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's cool. It's very cool to watch, because you do a little thing and it's like, and you get like 6 people at once. Like, that's cool. But then after you do that 3, 4, 500 times, I'm over it. That game is so not as good as it shows on the sales. I played Black Flag and I was addicted to it for 8 hours straight. I could not put it down. But then I didn't even get to the boat parts and I was like, I'm so bored now.
Yeah, you didn't even get to the good parts then. I mean, or the better parts, I should say.
If I play a game for 8 hours and I didn't get to the good parts, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, hey, Sea of Stars, man. It takes about 8 hours, I feel like, to get to... Sea of Stars
is good. I'm enjoying the game.
It's good. I guess I just feel like it gets so much better at that point.
It probably does, and I know where it is. I know where it stands. I know what it is. It's a JRPG. I know what I'm getting. Dunzo. Assassin's Creed, they're always the same. You climb up to the tallest thing, you look around, oh, I have all the landmarks, I jump down, eagle noise, insert generic eagle noise, fall into some sand or some fucking hay, and then get up, and then the guards go, hey, who's that? And you go, fuck you. And that's pretty much that's pretty much every Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, he nailed it, guys. What can I say? That's the Assassin's Creed experience in a nutshell. I don't know. I definitely think that's a hot take. That's actually a pretty good one. I do think people think that they maybe sell more than they should, but I do think the key selling point of an Assassin's Creed is thematicism. Like, yeah, the things you're going to be doing are the same, but now you're doing it in Greece. Now you're doing it in Egypt. Now you're doing it in insert and next location here. Japan is the next one.
Well, that was another selling point, is that they were so historically accurate. And then they all of a sudden just got so wonky that it didn't even matter.
And then they very rapidly were like, we are no longer historically accurate. But at the same time,
I'm okay with that. But it's just funny that that's like, because if that's the selling point, then okay. Then Mario should never innovate. They're all 2D side scrollers, 8-bit side scrollers, and Mario just is a different color. That's basically what we're given. That's not the case, because 64 is different than Galaxy is different than Odyssey. They're not. I feel like there's no innovation besides maybe the ships from Black Flag.
Yeah, I feel like we got onto the. I feel like for the first maybe 4 to 5 games, up to Black Flag. And then I'd say Unity was actually pretty innovative. I feel like we got to Unity, and then that was kind of when the formula like really solidified and they stopped doing a lot of new stuff. And that led to Syndicate. But funnily enough, I think Syndicate is actually one of the best ones because it just doubles down on the formula and does it the best way out of all of them.
That's fair.
But then you get into the newer RPGs, and I definitely feel like we fell off the tracks on the newer RPGs way quicker, where like Origins, the first one, awesome. I loved Origins. It was a great breath of fresh air for the series. And it still has some of the problems you mentioned, which is Eagle, guards are like, hey, what are you doing? Stab. Like, it's not a lot of those problems, but the RPG elements and everything made it so that you could approach a lot of scenarios differently and kind of mix it up a bit more. But then like we got to Odyssey, which is like a 200-hour game. And like by hour 15 to 20, you've already done what you're going to be doing for the next 180 hours. And then Valhalla is even worse, where it's like a 300-hour game. And same thing, by hour 15, you've already done everything you're going to do. So that's why, like, I think Mirage is a good step, other than, once again, you're correct. Mirage is very much just like the others, but I almost think that's better. Like, I'm fine with the Assassin's Creed formula, but just give it to me in small bites. Like, I don't need an 100-hour epic of your formula. The formula is not good enough to justify that. Just give me a cool little story in a very, rich land for like 8 to 12 hours. And that's it. That's all I need. And then I'll come back the next year and do it. And then I'll do it in China next year. And then I'll do it in, I don't know, New Orleans the next year. And then I'll do it in, like, just give me those like little bites. And I think that would make the formula not as grindy, I would say.
That's fair. I think it is just funny because, like, you got, games like RuneScape where you're literally just clicking your head into a wall for thousands of hours at a time, doing the same thing over and over again just to get that number go up feeling. Assassin's Creed is no different. There are all these games that you just do the same thing over and over again, and people are like, yeah. It's like, you're doing the same thing. You're being a rat in a trap.
Extra hot take for you. I do not understand RuneScape. I understood it when I was like 7 and 8 and my brain was undeveloped and I just wanted to see number go up. I do not actually understand how people spend hundreds and hundreds of hours just for number go up. I'm like, dude, literally almost every game in existence now does number go up at this point. You can get that anywhere.
That's true, but to be fair, there is a different value in it in terms of, like, there's an old school feeling to it because it's literally old school RuneScape, but there's an old school RPG feeling to it, so it feels very traditional, and they kept to their core. And the new content that comes out feels traditional with a modern take, so like they have it to where, like, whenever you're boss fighting, there's like so many different routes and avenues you could take to fight this boss, and you're acquiring new items. It literally feels like those old school, even like tabletop RPGs where you get a new item and you get excited about it. There's a different feel to it. But if it's just the way that I used to play, or typically the way that I mean, I don't play anymore, but the way that I do play is like, I'm trying to level up. Yeah, I could see that. If you're not already in that space, then I would never recommend that game to somebody if you're not in the space already.
Yeah, like I said, it's something that I totally understand when we were kids, because yeah, it is that traditional and it is very like straightforward. But now I'm just like, you're gonna really just sit there for like 4 hours to make number go up? Like, really?
The boss fights are interesting.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. That's to be fair, yeah, I haven't played it since I was probably like.
That's the problem though. Even if you did
10?
play it, to get to the boss fights, it would take you all year.
Fuck that, man. I didn't see that's my hot take. RuneScape people, get checked up, but maybe see a therapist. I don't know, man.
It's tough.
But that's all the hot takes I got for today, at least. I'm sure I can think of some more.
We'll get some more at some other time. Hopefully in the future we can have a guest come on and do some hot takes. That'd be fun.
Actually, I'm gonna put that out there in the comments down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a hot take. We'll read it. We'll read it in the podcast.
There we go. Like that.
But with that, I think it's about time we get into some of the news.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy, but we can get into what is. We got some big stuff. We got some small stuff. And so it shouldn't take too long to get through all of this, because some of it is just, it's downright just obvious that these things are happening. But if you want to go ahead and get us into our first story.
Yeah, let's get into some of the big stuff first. So obviously this is Damage Check, which means any Bungie news is essentially the biggest news of the week to us. So Destiny 2's game director, Joe Blackburn, is stepping down.
It's officially Jover.
It's officially Jover, everybody. Pack it up. Destiny's done. Yeah, this is interesting. He said he's leaving at the end of the month. And technically it sounds like he's actually already kind of been out of the role for a bit, or been kind of like just on the side giving tips to the new guy. But I'm guessing he says he's leaving Bungie, so it's not moving to another project in Bungie, and it's happening right around when Final Shape would have came out. So I'm guessing that this is just he already had something lined up, so he's not going to see Final Shape all the way through because of the delay. But yeah, end of an era. Joe Blackburn has been the game director pretty much almost the entire Light and Dark saga, I think, since Beyond Light. Or sorry, not Light and Dark saga. The one they started, Age of Loss or what, I don't know what they call it, but basically since Beyond Light, I believe he's been the game director, or at least been being groomed for game director. So it is a bit of an end of an era, and we're seeing across Bungie and Destiny 2 just in general a lot of kind of changing of the guard. Tell me, HB, how do you feel about that?
I think that I think it's one of those things where at first you're like, you see this news and you're like, oh no, this is somebody who has cared about his baby for a while, and then you read on what's his name, Tyson, I think, that is taking over.
Tyson Green.
And not only is this man ecstatic to step into this role, but he's very well qualified and available for this role. So on surface level, you're like, uh-oh. But then you take a step back and you realize he's handing the reins to a really qualified person. I feel like that's, I mean, nothing else need be said. I think that after all the layoffs, I feel like we get some new faces, or we get some people that are taking it a little bit more serious. I don't think more serious, not that they weren't taking it serious, but maybe this kind of just gets the ball rolling on the new era of Destiny that we need.
Ooh, new era that we need. So you do think with this new game director in, do you feel like they need to make large swings, so to speak, on kind of changing things up?
Not really. I don't think Destiny needs anything crazy. I think 8 years of any game, people are going to feel like it's getting stale. I'm talking about the kind of the public opinion, because Destiny is what it is for me and what it always will be. I want to get on with my friends, and I want to do some raids, do some complex content, and then get off. Like, I think that's kind of where the space that I occupy in Destiny. I don't want it to be my end all be all. Some people do. I just want it to be something that I get on with my friends and we have a good time. And I think that we always have had that, and we always will have that. It's just kind of the stuff in between that makes people in the the space as a whole, because like you said, most people haven't even finished a raid, and most people don't even have friends to play with typically at any given time. So I understand that not everyone is the same type of gamer that I am or has the same availability of friends and stuff. So I think that to the layman, maybe they need some change or something new because they want to keep playing, but they have no urge to, because this might not be as good as they thought. I, to be honest, have never really seen a state of Destiny really change like people have. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it was bad in this era and it's good in this era. I feel like it's always been the same. It's just a matter of when I get bored and when I don't get bored. I don't really see it as the game changing. So I wouldn't say I don't care who's in the space, but I'm glad that they are a qualified individual.
Interesting.
So I've never really felt like the game was really in a poor state or a good state. I feel like it's always a good state because I love that game. I do think that they made poor choices, like the Rohan saga and or lack thereof, I should say. But that whole DLC was lackluster. But I wasn't disappointed in the sense that I didn't get anything I didn't expect. Like, I didn't get as much as I wanted, but I fully expected what I got: a campaign, a raid, be it simple story, be it simple raid. Sure, whoops, they messed up a little bit. You know, I never really had a problem with that stuff. Not as much as the loud X, formerly known as Twitter, population.
Oh yeah, they definitely will let you know how much they hate Destiny and how they're gonna log on right now to continue playing it.
It is very funny to see. That's another hot take. Hey, stop saying you hate games that you have 1,000 hours in. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone can hate it, it would be that person that's qualified to say that. But at the same time, you don't hate it. It's just not true. You have 1,000 hours in it. You don't hate it.
Yeah. I'm interested with all this changing of the guard. I am very interested to see if we do get large sweeping changes. Like, the future of Destiny is much more nebulous now than I think it's ever been. Because I'm kind of with you where I feel like for the past while, I mean, Destiny's been Destiny. It's going to keep on Destiny, and it's just going to keep on doing what it's going to do. And I feel like that might be changing. Like, we might be reaching a point where it does need to change for general audiences to latch onto it. I guess at this point, I'm just curious what it's going to look like. Like, I know we're going to get Final Shape and we're going to get those 3 episodes. As we've talked about, the episodes probably not going to be that much different from seasons. Like, they'll be different, sure, but like, they're still going to be pretty much seasons.
That's what I've been saying since the beginning.
Maybe we'll get proven wrong. Like, I'm definitely open to, you know, that maybe they are going to change stuff up enough to where it doesn't feel like seasons and it does feel like maybe something closer to what Genshin does, or like, you know, where, sorry, I should explain this better. With Genshin, a lot of times you essentially get patches. They're not seasons, they're patches. You get them about once every month and a half. And they introduce new content, new stuff, all that kind of jazz. So it's not a traditional season. It's just like, here's the patch that has basically your next month and a half worth of content. And that kind of seems like what the episodes may be trying to do, because they are a month and a half. So I think if they can strike that to where it's like, hey, every month and a half, you're getting a new Destiny patch that is going to have enough content to keep you satisfied for that next month and a half, roughly. Obviously if you're like a hardcore gamer, you're gonna like grind through that shit in like a day or a week or whatever. But for most people, they can log in and say, hey, I'm gonna do this content for the next, you know, month and a half, and then the next content drop's gonna come for a month and a half, and the next content drop's gonna come for a month and a half, and so on and so forth. I think that could help alleviate some of the season problems, because as we see with seasons all the time, it's always like, oh, first month, it's going great. Second month, oh, this is pretty good. Third month, man, this is the worst season ever. I can't believe Bungie would blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone gets on their little tirades about.
See, I don't think that's the, like, that's kind of what I'm talking about, is like, I don't think Destiny's ever been in a bad state. Now, it might be worse than it, like, if you have a 10 out of 10 game and then it drops down to an 8 out of 10, is it bad? Well, it's bad comparatively, but it's not bad. Like, that's what I hate, that word bad, and I hate the vernacular that most of these people use, because it's just not true. We're not getting a bad game. We're getting a worse version of what we had, which does not equal bad. And so whenever you say it's just burnout, it's not, it has everything to do with the individual. And I mean, usually now the Rohan stuff where we didn't even build up to the character and he just, like, spoiler alert, he just dies in the middle of it with no build up at all. It doesn't make any sense. That was objectively bad storytelling. But
yes,
but the rest of it is like, we got what we always get. Of course, it wasn't Cade's death, but it was someone's death. It was a story that we built up to. It might not have been the best story, but it was the best of a great game. So it was the worst of a great game. The worst of a great game. I mean, that's still pretty damn good. And so,
hey,
like,
I'm right there with you.
They just need to calm down about it. Like, because the first month, yeah, it is good of the season. First month is great because it's fresh, it's new, it's time to play. Second month is falling off, but it's still pretty good because we're just now getting to the max level or what, et cetera, et cetera. Insert whatever milestone. And then the third month, of course, it's a little boring because you've been playing the same game for 3 months.
Yep.
I'm so tired of hearing that stuff.
Which is why I do think episodes does have a chance. You know, granted, they still are going to be very similar seasons, but I think if they play the cards right and if the content's there, I think they could make this much more of have a lot less of that talk go on between seasons or within seasons. Because if you're getting something every week, every month and a half, I mean, you don't really have time for those feelings to establish. Like by the time you get to that month and a half, you'll be kind of on the dip where it's like, okay, yeah, it's still pretty good, but I'm ready for something new. And it's like, oh, look, something new. Look at that. But I definitely agree with you where I don't think the game's ever necessarily been bad. And this is what I tell people all the time. Like, we have seasons where I'm like, yeah, I wasn't crazy about that season. The game's still the game. I still like going in and playing and shooting the guns and doing all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if after the episodes, I'm hoping that this year is actually when we hear what the future of Destiny is. Because one thing I did really like about Destiny and the way they managed it prior is, when they first came out Beyond Light, they're like, hey guys, here's the next 3, technically 4, because they added a year, 4 years of Destiny. Like, this is what the plan is. And I love that. I loved having that kind of idea of like, oh yeah, we're going to go from this and get into that and then get into that and then get into that. Like, just a rough outline. I do kind of want that just to kind of know where we're heading and know if like the ship is going to get rocked a lot or if it's still just kind of going to be the same thing.
Yeah. But
we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how good Final Shape is. The one thing I'll take away too, out of everybody who's, every single person that's left Bungie, every single one of them has basically been like, hey, Final Shape's going to be dope though. Like, get ready for Final Shape. Like, it's going to be awesome. And so my hype is building. We're getting closer and closer.
We definitely are.
And then this next story is definitely more of your wheel. Oh, sorry, one more time.
Oh, I was going to go lead into this next story. I don't think that this is technically under our big stuff. I think it's big in terms of just kind of the zeitgeist of the internet, but it's not really that big of news for me. It's something we can just graze over. But Pokimane is leaving Twitch, or she's already announced it, and she might have already moved or quit Twitch. Could be a contract thing. I didn't fully read up on it. I just know that I heard that a lot of her friends are on YouTube, and you could quick Google search, you'll probably find that it could be just a contract thing. But I mean, she's in the gaming space, so I figured we would just cover that. She is leaving YouTube, or she's leaving Twitch, but she's probably or already has stated she's just going over to YouTube. So nothing too crazy there, just moving platform. So any Poke fans, just make that switch over to YouTube.
Yeah, so actually looking right here, because I did see this a little bit earlier. So she basically has ended her partnership with Twitch. But she claims that she is a free agent. She's not signed to YouTube or Kick or any of those places. She's just like, I'm going to stream where I'm going to stream, essentially. So it kind of sounds like she's just playing the market right now, seeing where these kind of companies land. Because right now the streaming site wars are definitely ongoing, I would say. Everyone's kind of trying to wait and see what happens with a lot of these websites. And so she might just kind of be waiting until the right place kind of comes around for her to land. It is interesting, though. I do feel like this is kind of in a way, like a sign of the times that things are probably going to change pretty soon with a lot of these companies. Like, there's probably going to be a little bit more of a shakeup in the streaming space within the next few years, if I had to guess.
Hopefully, it's not anything ethical or morally corrupt. That's all I got to say.
Hopefully. And then with that, next story, this we'll call the handheld section. First, MSI's new Claw handheld has been announced, and there's a lot of rumors and scuttlebutt going around that there may be a new Sony handheld, more traditional handheld, not like the PlayStation Portal thing they came out with, but more traditional handheld coming out. Now the MSI one is kind of, I feel like more in the space of, Steam Deck came out and was like,
Yeah.
you can make portable PCs, guys. And all the PC part companies were like, you can do what?
Right. I mean, this thing, if you look at the images of the prototypes or whatever, this thing looks like a graphics card. I mean, it just screams like, I love this.
Really
I love this design. I'm not a handheld guy, so this actually looks, it looks great, but it also looks icky to me because I don't think that much power needs to be in a handheld device, because if I'm playing handheld, I want to play something like Pokemon still. But I mean, if this is what you want to play your new Assassin's Creed game, so be it. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where, like, I have a Steam Deck, and my Steam Deck is historically just for indie games that are probably going to run on a potato. I'm not playing, the hottest new mega AAA title on my Steam Deck most of the time. And if I am, what I'm probably doing more than anything is I'm probably going to remote play to my PC, which has actually worked out very well for sometimes. Like sometimes I'll play Destiny on my Steam Deck when I'm just laying on the couch or something. But I'm not going to play that natively on my Steam Deck. One, because you can't, but also two, because it's just better to run it through remote play and just have it essentially stream the game to my device. But still, I'm happy that the mobile PC market is growing. I think this is fantastic, especially for that, those smaller games and everything. They've already said before, many studios have come out and said that their primary audiences are on these types of platforms. So the more of these platforms that exist, the better those games are going to do, which is great news for everybody.
Yeah.
And then for the Sony handheld, this is very interesting to me. I loved the PSP and I love the PlayStation Vita. And so if they come out with another handheld, I'm definitely down for it. Sony traditionally has not been great at supporting a lot of their side hardware, I would say, with software, as evident by like things like the PlayStation VR 2 has not been getting a ton of support. But if they can come out with this thing and if it can, at least remote play and stream games from your like PlayStation device, I think that'll be pretty cool. I do feel like we may be reaching, by the time they are able to come out with it, we may be reaching a point where there's just too many of these things and it's just not going to do that well. But as of right now, I'd say more the merrier. As long as it doesn't take like 5 years to come out.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with any of these coming out. I think that it's good to have the competition. I always love the competition because it strives for perfection, and I love that. So,
hey, but we all know Steam Deck number one, baby. Steam Deck number one.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, the PlayStation, the Vita, and stuff were very good.
Vita was
they were fantastic. A little ahead of their time, almost.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I think Vita was very, very ahead of its time. I mean, you were talking about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I was remote playing Black Flag to my Vita way back in the day. And so like they were definitely kind of ahead of the game. And audiences just weren't ready for it yet. Switch hadn't come out. Switch hadn't changed the game yet.
Yeah, Switch definitely changed it up. It's just not as powerful, but it's very convenient for those gamers. I'm not a handheld guy, so I don't know what handheld Switch even looks like at this house. So
yeah, I don't really play handheld Switch. The few times I've done it is for travel, but now I just use my Steam Deck for that. Steam Deck, baby. God, Steam Deck number one. Let's go.
Exo Primal on Steam Deck.
Exo Primal on Steam Deck win. Come on, give it to me. What's happening? Why are we not the best game ever on Steam Deck? Next, a little bit of a sadder story. Embracer lays off around 97 people at Eidos Montreal and reportedly cancels a new Deus Ex game, to which I say, God, why do you hate me? Why do you continue to not give me more Deus Ex games? This sucks. I mean, this is just kind of, Embracer's been laying off people left and right because of that Saudi deal that went through. It's just really tiring. This is kind of the bad side of industry consolidation. Embracer went around buying up everybody and their mom, and now they're just laying off everybody and their mom and canceling all their games. And so I don't really have a ton to say other than that a new Deus Ex game getting canceled is just a super big bummer because I love those games.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another like pothole in the industry of gaming. I mean, we keep falling short of these great people. All these developers just keep laying people off, or the studios rather keep laying people off. And we knew this was coming. We called this, I mean, the moment Bungie did their massive layoff, we knew all of these were going to be trickling down into the industry. Not because of, but in light of, we were going to see these. It just was inevitable. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but I feel like I always go back to, I feel like laying people off can mean one thing, but I think that it, like you said, I think you mentioned it before, is like it could be a good thing in terms of like, because like there's a lot of reasons for these layoffs. One being the overhiring, so it's not as bad because then it's like, okay, we're just getting back to an original state that we were in. And then also we got the higher production or future of AI, and so we could be getting, they could, I wouldn't say add more jobs, but we could be getting a difference of jobs because of the way that the market might be shifting. And I don't feel like, even with Bungie, I don't feel like we needed 100 people on the social media team. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just don't believe that I mean, I do think that we need a social media team because you need people to complain to whenever you have a problem on Twitter. I mean,
yeah, it's my primary job duty to be complained to. I mean, I guess you're not wrong.
But I'm not saying that that's actually needed. I'm being facetious. But I think that is some of these cuts may be warranted. It's very, again, we always say at Damage Check, it's very unfortunate to see these people lose their jobs. So hopefully that they can get back into the space and do what they love, because I can only imagine getting to a place where you're working on what you love and then it being ripped out from under you. So
yeah, I mean, obviously the individual side is always going to suck. Yeah, here at Damage Check, yeah, if we ever say, oh, maybe this layoff is because of blah blah blah, obviously no matter what, it's always going to suck as an individual losing that job and everything. From the business side, we are in a weird transitional period. We talked about this a little bit last week, but we're just in a period where the industry kind of grew a ton over the pandemic, and now they're trying to both fix themselves but also now prepare for the new future with AI, and then also now prepare for kind of this new future that like Game Pass is introducing with like subscriptions, and trying to figure out how to make the monetization models work. It's just a weird time for the industry, and so yeah, it's going to unfortunately lead to a lot of layoffs. It's going to lead to a lot of problems for these studios. And as many people have said in the industry, like it's just going to keep happening throughout the year and probably into next year. I still am very interested in, after all this happens, if the industry's in a healthier place or not. I think that's my biggest question right now, is if we're going to have all these people sacrificed at the altar of layoffs, is it going to lead to a much better and more sustainable future for video games in the future? Or are we just going to run into the same problem 5 years from now when they make another bunch of big, dumb mistakes like they did before? That is my biggest concern moving through all this. Is I want to get to a point where the game industry is a lot more sustainable, and it's not just kind of like big pops and then the balloon pops and then it goes back down, and then big pops and the balloon pops and it goes back down like that. That's the thing that's getting really tiring. And that's why, like we talked about it a little bit before, but a lot of these people are gone from the game industry forever. They
Right.
don't want to ride the roller coaster anymore. Really talented people too. They're probably just gonna be like, you know what? I don't want to ride the roller coaster anymore. I'll just go work in a different industry that doesn't have these bubble pops as often. And I'll be more sustainable there. And that sucks. That's a lot of talent bleed from the game industry, which is why I'm very curious to see what the next couple of years look like post the layoffs, and if they actually ended up being quote unquote worth it for the industry in the long term.
We'll definitely see. I mean, that's an interesting kind of thought experiment for that. I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. Well, that's your layoff news. Oh, also Sega laid off 60 people. Not much to say there. More layoffs.
Yeah,
it's kind of same conversation.
It's insane. But
hopefully
we still get our good Sonic game, because I love Sonic Frontier so much.
I mean, hey, Sonic Generations with Shadow. I mean,
saw
let's
that.
go. He's got a gun.
I don't think he had a gun in the trailer.
No, he doesn't have a gun in the trailer. But man, I had a unhealthy love of the Shadow the Hedgehog game back in the day.
Oh, for
where
sure.
Where you had the gun and stuff. Man, Man, I was a dumb kid. I was a really dumb kid playing really dumb games.
You know what? Before we go too much into the next thing, that's speaking of, this is a little bit of gaming news, more movie news, but about a game. Sonic 3 was announced fully,
Yep.
and the cast was announced, and Jim Carrey is a part of that, supposedly. So I'm all in, because he did say in an interview after Sonic 2 that was going to be his last film, because he did not want to do any more movies. He was retiring. And they were like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yes, I'm retiring." And they're like, "Are you ever going to come back?" And he said, "If the script is good enough," which I don't think Sonic 3 was his breakout script to be the best thing to come out of retirement. But obviously it was good enough for him to say, "Yeah, I'll continue the series." And that's good, because if anyone knows anything about the introduction of Shadow, which is where Sonic 3 is going in with that, Shadow was introduced because he was a clone of Sonic made by Dr. Eggman, with a whole project experiment thing going on. So we kind of need Robotnik Eggman back. Eggman back. So I think that having Jim Carrey back is the movies are incredible. And they're even better because of Eggman, played by Jim Carrey. I mean, I love those movies. I love those movies so much.
Yeah, Jim Carrey's fantastic. So it's definitely great that he's going to stick around. They keep on doing a great job with those projects. So hopefully the good times keep rolling. I know they're coming out with that Knuckles show on like Paramount or whatever, or HBO, whatever. That'll be interesting.
The cartoon?
That'll be very... Yeah, well, no, it's supposed to be the live action.
Oh, interesting.
With Idris Elba doing Knuckles and everything.
I'm gonna have to look into that. That's interesting.
All right, next story. Dark and Darker dev claims Nexon's preliminary injunction has been dismissed. Court rules that the game cannot be considered an infringement of Nexon's copyright or trade secrets. So Dark and Darker back on Steam? Question mark?
I hope so. That's why I put it in here, period. I didn't look much else into this because it's all legal jargon that I don't understand. But Jesus, if I'm not excited for this to come back to Steam, because I was so weary of downloading this on some crappy weird website, third party, just to get malware viruses all over my computer. But dude, I'm so excited. And I say that with a little pullback too, because I am excited because I did love this game, but I love this style of game. So when we get Marathon, I'm probably all in on Marathon, but I love the extraction shooter or extraction game genre, but I don't want to play Tarkov, for example, because Tarkov is too hyper realistic for me. It is too much. It's too intense of an experience. And too much downtime, I guess. Obviously, when it hits the fan, you feel like you're really in it because you're losing all your stuff. I get it, and that's what I love about this genre. But I want it to be more arcadey, more game and that's why the fantasy genre I feel like falls into this category a lot better for me. So once this comes back to Steam, I'm all in. I want to buy this game. I want to play this game. So hearing this legal news that they might be available back on Steam, because Steam didn't want any part of that legality crap. So now that they might be able to be back on Steam, I might be able to actually play it again. The gameplay again is not the best, but it's the genre that I'm so into. So
the thrill.
Yeah. And so I definitely want to play this version of that genre. And then obviously I can't wait for Marathon. So this is just good news for me all around. I want to play this game again because I did have a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, I'm happy for everybody. Everybody I saw play this game seemed to have a really good time with it. So if it does come back to Steam, I'm happy for everybody. I'm definitely in the camp of I'm just waiting for Marathon waiting corner over here, basically. Super happy for everybody else who might get to play this game again and not get a virus.
Right.
And then the final thing of the big stuff, just a quick little state of play react. Did you get a chance to watch the state of play? Or
I did not.
It was pretty good. It was actually a pretty good state of play. Sony basically came out and talked about some upcoming projects for basically the next 2 years, I would say, this year and then next. Couple of good things coming out early. Stellar Blade is one that looked really interesting to me. That was one of their opening games. Very excited for that. I think it looks really cool. Has a lot of a really cool style to it. The biggest thing I want to talk about from the state of play, though, is Kojima coming out. And he showed a trailer for Death Stranding 2. And I kid you not, man, it might be the greatest video game trailer I've ever seen in my life. This man, every scene, he's like, here's some weird shit. And you're like, okay, cool. There's no way it can get weirder than that. and then it gets weirder. And then you say, there's no way it can get weirder than that. And then it gets weirder. And then you're like, there's no possible way it can get weirder than that. And HP, it gets fucking weirder.
Because Kojima's pretty known for getting things weird. Is this like, do you think that a lot of this is just a crazy brainchild he always has, or do you think it's some of it becomes weird for weird's sake?
I think in a way, like with Death Stranding specifically, I think it does become weird for weird's sake in a lot of ways. Like I think that Kojima has an amazing way of looking at mundane things and saying, how can I make this weird as fuck? And it works most of the time. It may not work for every single person, but I think that Kojima is very good at having a very coherent vision to where you can buy into the weirdness. And it doesn't feel like completely out of place. It does feel weird because it is weird, but I think that he really is I'm definitely, disclaimer, I'm a big Kojima lover. I love Kojima. I think he is one of the greatest visionaries of the game industry. You can have your opinions on should we have visionaries like that within industries and all that kind of stuff. That's totally fine. But I definitely think Kojima has done so much good for the industry and so much good for creativity within the industry. And so I just love the fact that he's able to go out there and just be weird as fuck and just have these crazy ideas, these crazy brainchilds that he just comes out with. And it really kind of expands what I think video games can end up being. And I think Death Stranding was that. Death Stranding, when you break it down, is a game about delivering mail. And it's one of the weirdest stories I've ever seen, but also one of the best and most realized stories. And so I'm like, I got to give the guy props. He made a story about delivering mail really good.
I feel like when you take a space like gaming and then you innovate it, you're always going to be a great visionary, someone like Kojima. I think Miyamoto does the same thing, but to the direction that I like. You know what I mean? Kojima, so Miyamoto takes it in a gameplay innovation. Maybe a little too much because they go into now you can play with sticks. Just go grab a stick from outside and throw it at your friend. Whatever. They'll take anything. Like any blade of grass can be a toy. It's like, I don't know about all that, but I do like the innovation that they take because it's like Mario doesn't have a story. It's more about the gameplay, and Kojima's is the opposite.
Sure.
Kojima's is less the gameplay because that's not the innovation. We already have gameplay. Now you can innovate on gameplay. See Miyamoto, but Kojima's direction is typically story driven and how weird can I make this? And so and they even stated that that their studio kind of wants to take a direction where gaming and movies become like inseparable or indistinguishable. And I personally don't like that. I understand that it's important for the industry to give a good narrative, just not my take when I'm wanting to press buttons and shoot the guy kind of deal, but I respect his innovation and I respect his vision. It's just not typically the thing for me. So we'll see.
You're the Miyamoto to my Kojima. That's our relationship.
Yeah, pretty much.
That. You're the gameplay guy, and I'm just like, give me weird stories, give me weird mechanics that link into how I'm interacting and stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to play Death Stranding 2 and just get into that weird fucking world again and throw poop grenades at ethereal monsters. And then after that trailer, first off, the trailer was almost 10 minutes long. And like I said, it just continues to escalate. But beyond that, he also announced that he is returning to the tactical espionage action game genre, which he practically invented with Metal Gear. He's not going back to Metal Gear, but he's basically making a spiritual successor to that genre called Physant. And he says it is going to be the biggest melding of gameplay and film ever created with the most advanced technology currently available plus futurely available, because he did announce this is a next gen game. This is actually probably the first PlayStation 6 game announced. He said it will not be coming to PlayStation 5. So very, very interested to see more about that project. I'm like, how does this man function? He's got like 4 games, I think, in development right now. And I'm like, how does this guy even work? But he probably just sleeps like 2 hours a day or some crazy shit like that. But yeah, very excited for that. That was the main thing from the state of play. There's some cool other stuff, like, so, we talked about Helldivers 2 a little bit. That still is looking pretty good. And like I said, Stellar Blade. But yeah, that was the state of play. It was a good time.
Sounds like it. I mean, Death Stranding, I've never even played the first one, but the just looking here at the trailer, the second one looks so hyper realistic and so interesting.
Dude, he's about to, you don't even know what's about to happen. You're not listening to audio right now, I don't think, but man, this man is about to bust out that thing on his back and fight like a cyborg baby that is making baby sounds while they fight. It's
so weird.
It's the weirdest. And that guy, his weapon is a guitar that shoots electricity, but he also is going to wield it like an axe.
Did Jack Black make this game?
Dude, I'm telling you, like, legitimately after the podcast, just go watch this trailer. It is like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, just because of how weird it is. Just how bizarre. I'm like over here, like, how do you think of this stuff, Kojima? Like, are you just in a cocained out dream state, just like throwing shit at a wall or something? But yeah, the photorealism is definitely very high. God, it's such a gorgeous game. Oh man. I just want to get to him doing the guitar part. Hold on, everybody. See, there's the cyborg baby. And then he whips it out. He's like, what
am I looking at? This is so odd.
Oh, it's so good though, dude. Look at it. Look at it. Bam, bam, bam. And then he's like, oh, hold on. Let me turn on axe mode.
Interesting.
Incredible stuff. Sorry, this is a lot of dead air for any audio listeners, but
we'll move
man,
on.
This is so good, dude. Oh man, Death Stranding 2, man, it's gonna be a hell of a game. I tell you what. All right, on to some small stuff. We'll just kind of breeze through this. Hellskate, interesting take on Tony Hawk Pro Skater with roguelite twist. I actually have seen this. This is games we want to show you, basically. Very, very cool game concept. I think that, basically throw roguelite elements in almost any genre at this point, and you probably have a semi-decent game. It may not be your favorite game ever, but it'll at least be semi-decent. It also gives me kind of vibes of, what was that one game? Jet Set Radio?
Yeah, I could see that. I think that this is such a good thing to do. I mean, you got the Tony Hawk genre that I feel like is, I wouldn't say phasing out, but it's like you know what you're getting. With this, I feel like it adds so much replayability to a game, to a skate game, versus just getting the high score or whatever. So I mean, I don't know how good. Like apparently, this so far hasn't been received too well. But
is it even out yet?
But the demo.
Oh, the demo.
Okay. Or the testers, I can't remember, but that's what I read. But from what I see, it looks fantastic. If you like the genre of skate games, I feel like this adds such a great unique element to it that is so fresh. I mean, I wouldn't even, who thinks of this? I don't even, a roguelike Tony Hawk, basically. Like that is genius to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can basically shove roguelike elements into whatever genre you choose at this point, and you probably have the bones of at least a half decent game. Cook it in the oven with a little bit of extra things, and you probably have a decent game for at least somebody. I think roguelike elements are just kind of the perfect way to gamify a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just
like it
add so much replayability.
Yeah, it is like the most game mechanic you can add to a game at this point. And so very interested to see more people's takes on stuff like this. I can't wait for the coffee barista simulator roguelike. But yeah, that is a game we want to show you. Next up, new Celeste 64 style 3D platformer for free on Games 6th anniversary. And it's interesting. And HP puts a note here. HP does not think it looks too good, but he still loves Maddie all the same.
I do, Maddie, if you're listening ever, which I would freak out if I found out Maddie was listening to Damage Check. But I'll put a little bit up on screen here for the viewers. It I haven't played it, so maybe it is good, but I feel like you're missing a lot of the omnidirectional stuff, and I think it was just a cute project that they probably whipped up just for the sake of because I'm pretty sure it was actually made by them.
Yeah. I did some research on this. They made it in a week, so a very quick turnaround project. And just kind of to celebrate the anniversary. I think it looks cool. I mean, I just want more 3D, 64 style platformers. Things like Hat in Time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I feel like we just Hat in Time version of Celeste. Oh boy, am I in? Am I all in? I mean, I think I like the 2D space a lot better. That's why this one doesn't appeal to me as much. But I love you, Maddie, so much. I think Celeste is probably one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, and I just want to let you know that.
You heard it here. Clip it out. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty cool, but I could definitely understand, it definitely looks like something you kind of just throw together, a decent time, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But I do definitely, as I mentioned, I just really want more 3D platformers. And you mentioning that you're more of a 2D guy. Now I'm kind of thinking, like, do I like 2D or do I like 3D more? I almost feel like I might like 3D platformers more. Or at least I've had better experiences, more rich experiences with 3D platformers, I guess.
I saw that the Nintendo Direct or something is coming soon, and I saw that the Game Awards was asking on Twitter, and I quote tweeted it, what games would we like to see, what sequels or whatever, and I posted Odyssey 2 because, God, I love Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, dude, Odyssey was great.
Odyssey 2 would be fantastic, or or seeing a Mario Maker 3. Hopefully Mario Maker 3 will add a 3D element, but I think that would be almost impossible to monitor and moderate for the level designs and stuff. But either way, a Mario Maker 3 and Odyssey 2, that's the best of both worlds. You got the 2D space and the 3D space covered. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, you mentioning Odyssey makes me solidify my opinion. Yeah, I think I'm more of a 3D platformer guy. I love 3D platformers. I think that adding that extra dimension gives so much fun and vibrancy to the worlds. So yeah, I mean, come on, game developers, me included, get them 3D platformers going. Let's make it happen.
I have my main idea for, by the way, going into our, like you said, and you included, with our game dev team. I have my main idea that I still haven't even shared with you. I would still love to make, but I have another idea that I wouldn't be too scared to share with you that I recently came up with, and I'm like, I feel like this could be a good game in a space, and I don't know what the efforts would be to make it, and I want to throw it at you after the podcast.
Okay, yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
I would actually probably download this and play it. I would love to give it a shot. Next up, Stormgate coming soon to possibly revive a decade-dead RTS genre, specifically the kind of StarCraft, Warcraft, basically the crafts RTS genre that has laid pretty dormant for a while. Not many people have made something in that space. I mean, hey, I'm always there. I always love myself a good RTS, so I'm definitely down. I do wonder, with Stormgate, I am in the boat of I need you to add something modern and new to it for me to like really get into it, I feel like. Because if it's just StarCraft and Warcraft, I can just go download StarCraft and Warcraft. And I feel like that's a problem that comes up a lot with these types of games where they're like, we're bringing back this, long dead subgenre or something. And it's always like, we're just going to basically make the same game. And I get that works for some people, but they almost always end up failing because they're not able to capture a new audience because they're not adding anything really new to the formula. They're not modernizing the formula. They're not doing a Sea of Stars, for example, where they're trying to modernize the formula. They're just like, we're just going to make that thing and then hope that it sells enough.
I would agree with that final statement you had, but the initial statement saying that that they could just go play the others, I would agree with that, but I disagree in the sense of like, you could capture a new audience because people, just because they're not innovating doesn't mean that this genre couldn't be played by a person who was too young to play it before. Like they might still like this genre, but they want it modernized. They don't want the old school version. Plus, it's not just the campaign that they're playing. I mean, I would love to see the revival of the the PvP, like in this game we're watching these two potential pros, I guess, playing this game. I think that watching two people, or playing PvP in this game is going to be more my speed, and also something that I would love to see back in the space, because I just feel like we are so dominated and so saturated with battle royales, and arena shooters are coming back a little bit because of like the finals, and Halo is picking up a little bit of steam. But even then, I think arena shooters are still so overshadowed by battle royales, and so I would love to see an RTS come in and kind of shake things up just a little bit, because StarCraft was such an anomaly and such a just unicorn of its time in terms of like the popularity in the gaming space. Because back then it was Halo, Gears of War, Call of Duty, and then StarCraft 2. It's like shooter, bloodier shooter. RTS from a top-down perspective that kind of looked a little silly. Like it didn't fit the mold of what competitive gaming was. And I want to see that again. I want to see it shake things up. I don't want to keep seeing, all right, boys, where are we dropping? All right, boys, let's drop Tilted Towers. All right, boys, where are we dropping? Like, that's so boring to me. Can you pick me up? Hey, pick me up. Bro, get me up. Like, I want to see this in the competitive scene. Now, obviously, we still got League of Legends and other strategy games, but I do want to see this come back a little bit, because the custom games can be so fun.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I would love to see more life in especially in the esports genre. So I agree with you on that. If this does come back and hit it big and it can kind of get some life going in that would be nice.
Yep.
And then Enshrouded came out and it looks good, but apparently it has multiplayer bugs. This was another survival game that came out recently. It looks pretty good, and people seem to be pretty high on it. But yeah, there has been some bugs. People kind of say it definitely is still cooking. You know, it is early access, so it feels like there's a few things that they need to kind of work on to get the loop right, I guess I would say. So, but hey, survival games, man, they be eating right now. Everyone be loving them survival games. Power World, Enshrouded. We've got that Nightingale one coming out in like
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks. Survival. When do we reach survival game like peak where like there's just too many survival games?
So I see what you're saying there, because I the answer would be now, because there's so many at this point. But there's the popular ones that are good that everyone will always go back to or play the PvP in, which is Ark and Rust, mostly Rust, and then things like DayZ and stuff that kind of like pan off of those that PvP style. But I think that we're getting into a space where there's a lot of cooperative survival that's more important to people than the PvP. Like Pal World is co-op survival, so it feels more, because it's co-op and not PvP, and things don't degrade as easily, and you don't really have to worry about pals dying and stuff like that. Like you do at Ark with, if your dino dies, you have no more dino, or if you PvP, you literally lose all your stuff. Pal World, it's not really like that. Nothing seems, everything seems permanent. Nothing seems finite. So it feels like you're playing a game that you can continue and care about. So I think that this co-op genre of them, like Raft or like this, or maybe even Void Train, depending on, I don't know if that's how that is, but those co-op genres, I feel like have a better space to move right now. The PvP ones, it's like, why play a new PvP one when you could just play Rust? Now, as far as I know, Nightingale is actually, because this is Enshrouded, but Nightingale is adding a like something that we haven't really seen, and I'm super interested in seeing. And they're adding kind of like a magic/fantasy art to it, kind of, and I not just art but gameplay, and I think that is interesting, because we haven't really seen that besides maybe Valheim a little bit. And I think Valheim shook up the space enough to say, hey, you can play cooperatively with your friends and you're fighting bosses. And I don't feel like a lot of places do that. I mean, Ark did that, but it's almost impossible. I mean, you had to play for a year straight with no job, only Ark, to get to the point to fight those bosses. I mean, they're too unobtainable in Ark. So I hope that this space is, I mean, it's already saturated, but it does make sense that these games always succeed, though, because, I mean, think about it. They're tapping into what it means to be human, to survive. They're tapping into the core of our DNA. And while it seems like it feels grindy, you always still get addicted to these things so easily.
Yeah, it definitely taps into a primal urge, you could say, of us, which is, go beat up a tree, grab some wood, build a tool, use that tool to then do these things, then use those tools to do these things. Like it builds upon itself very well. I am interested to when we reach the, with similar with like battle royales, where we reach a point where we're just like, enough battle royales. I wonder when we reach that point of, all right, no more survival games. We got enough of them.
I mean, I'm already at the point where I don't want to keep seeing more. Like, I've slowed down on Pal World. I still love that game, absolutely, and I do want to finish that. But I think that's the only thing that's keeping me in is like I want to catch all the pals, and I want to maybe level up the ones that I like. So that is keeping me into the genre, and the pals kind of do stuff for you. Whereas like these types of games, like I'm watching this game now. This is probably the first hour of this guy playing, but I don't want to play an hour of chopping down trees anymore. I'm kind of over that. And I like that Pal World gets you out of that pretty quickly.
Yeah, Pal World very quickly is like all those survival things that are really grindy. You've got pals for that. Like to Pal World's credit, that's one of the biggest things I love about it is that it's a survival game, but it puts a lot of stuff into the game to make it so that any of the survival aspects you don't want to interact with, you've got pals for that. They can go do it for you.
And I think that this kind of lends itself to like the taking the survival genre out of the calculations here. I think that, to be honest, all we really want, I mean, because if you want a PvP one, you just go play Rust. If not, then you just want an open world co-op game with your friends. So basically it's a survival game, but it's really an open world, open server game is what you really want. Because like if I could play Tears of the Kingdom with all my friends and we could go boss fight together or explore together and make a base together or something, then I'm going to play that. I feel like we have to go chop down trees for 20 hours to make a base or whatever, like, or eat to survive. Like the eating and the weight and all that crap. Stop with the realism. We want a video game. Let me be able to carry 5 billion stone. Like, just because I just want to play the game. And so these survival elements can kind of just go away, if I'm being honest.
That's fair. I think that there's now been enough realism in the genre. I mean, it's the same thing with like we were talking about extraction shooters earlier, where I feel like with extraction shooters, people aren't going to get into Tarkov because it's too hardcore. It's too realistic. There's too much realism to it. Whereas that's why I'm hoping with Marathon, like we do get to a point where it's like, all right, we are a video game. Yeah, we're a video game. Like, maybe there's some, there obviously is some risk and reward. You might lose some stuff, but it's not like, oh man, I got to go scrounge for 5 bullets. And if these 5 bullets don't hit, like I'm, screwed for the next 3 weeks. It's like, I don't want that. I want to log in, do an extraction, get some cool stuff, maybe get a couple of people and then bounce out,
Like even this, we're watching this on screen. If the audio can't see it, but it's gameplay of Enshrouded. I mean, literally at the top left, it says rested and a timer, and it goes down while he's not here, but it goes up while he is here. And he's next to a fire. He's sitting down. He's sleeping. He's eating. It's like, that is so boring to me. I don't want to sit in front of a fire for 10 minutes so I can go play as a rested character for 10 minutes. Like, stop with this stuff. It's not gaming when you're like, okay, well, time to sit down. No, I am sitting down. HP is sitting down at the chair. Game time. This is worse than a cutscene. And you heard it here. HP finds something worse than a cutscene.
Wow. Never thought I'd see the day.
I hate sitting down by fires and sleeping. Like, this is so boring.
The sleeping, I'm like, sure, you can have that. But yeah, being like, oh, you got to make sure that you go poop or something, or else you're gonna get a debuff. It's like, bro, I don't need that in my game. Like, it's fine.
Very true.
Oh shit, you're constipated, bro. Combat -20. It's like, why, man? Why? I don't need this. I don't need this at all.
Exactly.
All right, and then the final small stuff story we got: Suicide Squad releases, and it is a game. I've heard mostly negative things about it, which I feel like we all kind of saw coming. But I'm sure it'll have an audience, and
once
it'll
I
probably
heard that
go
it was
by.
a live service game, I could have seen it coming. But before that, I was like, oh, this looks like a cool adventure game, but it's a live service game. That's so weird.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard is from everybody that I've talked to is it's a single player game that for some reason they really wanted to wrap into a live service and make it multiplayer. Whereas most people are like, if they would have just made this a Suicide Squad adventure game, go play it for 15 to 20 hours, open world, it probably would have been pretty good. But the insistence on like building everything around the live service seems to really kill it. And I think this is what happens when, it took them 8 years to make this game. It was an 8-year development cycle. What was happening 8 years ago? Destiny, right? Live service was hot.
Yeah.
And so you take 8 years to make a game, you showed up late to the party, man. Like live services, it's not dead or anything like that. But the type of live service you're trying to implement, you can't release the game like that right now. I
feel like unless you think that your game is the next game, the next hotness, and if it's live service, then you can't release it. You can't make a live service game because you can only split people's attention so much. I mean, Fortnite has half of it, Destiny has the other half, or a third, or whatever, and then League of Legends has the other third. Like there's only so many people. We're not playing all of them.
Yeah, and I just, this is almost getting into a whole nother topic, but screw it, I'll talk about it a little bit right now. Anyways, I feel like the biggest thing with live services that they have to realize is you need to make it so that your live service is easy to jump in and out of, and I don't have to spend a ton of time in it. Obviously, if I want to spend a ton of time in it, that's great. But the reality is you just can't build your games around, oh, here's your daily and weekly quests. No, dude, I already got my daily and weekly quest games. I can't add any more daily and weekly quest games to my rotation at this point. That's how most people are. There's nobody out there that's like, oh, I really need another daily and weekly rotation.
That's my thing, is they're always fighting for your attention and not your enjoyment. And that's the problem. Yeah. They need to make these games enjoyable and not fight for your attention. Like, I don't want to go farm, 40 Ingrams or whatever, insert X piece of gear or whatever every day. Like, I don't want to, or not gear, but, material. I don't want to have to do that every day.
Yeah, we need to get out of this battle pass stuff where it's like, forcing like FOMO and all that kind of stuff. We need to get out of all that. We need to make it so that, like, if anything, this is one thing that I wish Halo Infinite would have taken off, because if it would have, their whole system with season passes would have gotten adopted by a lot of other people. And God, I wish that would have happened, where it's like, just let me have the season pass, have the battle pass just be something you could buy at any point, and you can work on leveling it. And that's the perfect way to do your games
any one of them. Yeah, they're definitely ahead of their time, because we're going to get that in the future, I'm sure.
God, I hope so. Even with Destiny, like, I hope we get to that point where it's like, just let me buy the season of the whatever battle pass and work on it. Granted, like, I've finished them all, but like, for a lot of the, you're talking about like, oh, we can't get new players. Well, yeah, because the new player comes in and is like, oh, I've already missed like
half the season.
14 seasons of shit. All right, well, I guess this kind of sucks. I'm not getting any of the cool stuff. Whereas if you just go in, it's like, yeah, buy this season pass at any point for $10. And it's like, oh, I can get that dope Vex armor at the end of this. Hell yeah, dude. Buy for $10. I'll work on grinding that. And then turn that one on, and then turn the other one on when you want to do the other one. Exactly. And then
you get to play at your leisure, and you can get what you want out of it, and you're spending money on the game. I mean, taking away something, even a season pass, now that you mention it, is kind of silly, because no one can buy season 13 ever again. Let me. Yeah, you literally have all these assets that you made, and like, new player, as a new player comes in, you don't want them to be like, yeah, let me buy $140 worth of battle passes because it's got all this cool stuff in it. And there's a couple people in there that would look through those and go, oh my God, I like this, versus some other player who wouldn't care about it. Yeah, it's like, this is one thing that live services need to adapt to, Destiny included, where it's like, we need to get out of this like fishing for people's time and just make shit enjoyable. And then when they come in, they'll be like, oh, cool, there's this new thing, or, oh, I can work on this, or, oh, I can work on that. Like, that's what we really need at this point. Helldivers is a game that's coming out next week. And it's funny because it is a live service game. They're going to keep updating it and everything, but they're not doing any of that stuff. There's no daily, weekly, whatever. It's like, just come in, drop in, play, enjoy it, get out. Maybe buy a couple things on the way in or on the way out. And that's it. And that's what they really need to do, is they need to make it to where HP and the boys can go in and be like, oh yeah, like, I'm feeling this game today. Oh, cool. There's stuff that I can work on. And then they've got you for at least a couple of weeks, and then they'll move on to the next thing. But then they'll come back just like a live service always does. Then they'll get you for a couple more weeks. They need to monetize around that. They need to monetize around the time that you want to spend in it, not the time that they want to force you to spend it. Exactly. Fully agree.
Side ran over.
I mean, that was a perfect tangent, to be honest.
And that's all the news we really got for the week. HP, you got anything else for us?
Nope, that's it. That covers the whole plethora of notes I had.
Nice. This is a pretty good rounded out podcast. Hour 45. Not bad. Well, HP, where can people find you? What you got going on right now?
I got working a lot on Siren stuff. So if you want to help support any of the things that we're doing, just go on over to YouTube and type in Siren's Sketches, and you will find her cozy art channel with all of her cute, cozy, fun vibes and sketchbooking stuff. So go to YouTube and type in Siren's Sketches. You will find her there. And as for me, you can find me anywhere. Just type in Heretic Plays. You should find me anywhere. I tweet sometimes, but I'm typically on YouTube or Twitch live Tuesday through Friday. Mr. Fjord, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch Fridays and Sundays, and then of course Saturdays here. Sometimes I do bonus streams on Saturdays. Sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on how much I got going on. I've got a lot of cool projects in the oven right now. Not a ton that I want to talk about right this second, but you can always follow me on Twitter or Threads to keep up with any of my projects. I usually post about any big breakthroughs or anything there, or I just randomly kind of post about whatever I'm thinking at the time if I feel like it. You can find me as Fjord on YouTube and Twitch. And that's all we got. So until next week, keep being amazing.
See you guys.